Hi students, in the last video you learned why there was a demand for Indian indigo. Because of the demand, Britain turned to India for the production of indigo. Here, question arises, how was indigo cultivated? Let us understand about it. In this video, you will study how was indigo cultivated, the problems with niche cultivation, indigo on the land of ryots, the problem with ryote cultivation, the Blue Rebellion and after. The two main systems of indigo cultivation were niche and ryote. First, let us learn about niche cultivation. Within the system of niche cultivation, the planter produced indigo in lands that he directly controlled. He either bought the land or rented it from other zamindars and produced indigo. But there were problems with niche cultivation. The planters found it difficult to expand the area under niche cultivation. Indigo could be cultivated only on fertile lands and they were already densely populated, and planters needed large areas in compact blocks to cultivate indigo in plantation. For this, they had to evict population, which led to conflicts. A large plantation required a vast number of hands to operate, and labor was needed precisely at a time when peasants were usually busy with their rice cultivation. Niche cultivation on a large scale also required many plows and bullocks. Investing on purchase and maintenance of plows was a big problem. At the same time of its cultivation, the cultivation of rice also took place. That is why plows were not available on rent too. Second system of indigo cultivation was ryote cultivation. Under the ryote system, the planters forced the ryots to sign a contract or an agreement. At times, they pressurized the village headmen to sign the contract on behalf of the ryots. Those who signed the contract got cash advances from the planters at low rates of interest to produce indigo. But the loan committed the ryot to cultivate indigo on at least 25% of the area under his holding. The planter provided the seed and the drill while the cultivators prepared the soil, sowed the seed and looked after the crop. When the crop was delivered to the planter after the harvest, a new loan was given to the ryot and the cycle started all over again. There were other problems too with ryote cultivation. Peasants got very low price for the indigo and the cycle of loans never ended. After an indigo harvest, the land could not be sown with rice which the peasants preferred as indigo production reduced the fertility of soil. Peasants were not happy with these systems. They rebelled against planters. Let us study one such rebellion. The Blue Rebellion took place in Bengal in March 1859. As the rebellion spread, riots rejected the cultivation of indigo and paid rents to the planters. Not only that, even they attacked indigo factories and even socially boycotted those who worked for the planters. Even indigo riots felt they had the support of local zamindars and village headmen in their struggle because many village headmen and zamindars were unhappy with the planters. The indigo peasants also believed the British government would support them in their struggle because after the revolt of 1857, the British government was particularly worried about the possibility of another popular rebellion. Intellectuals from Calcutta wrote about the misery of the riots, the tyranny of the planters or domination of planters, and the horrors of the indigo system. Worried by the rebellion, the government set up the Indigo Commission to enquire into the system of indigo production. Indigo Commission declared that indigo cultivation was not profitable for riots. Hence, they could refuse to produce indigo in future. After the rebellion, indigo production collapsed in Bengal and the planters shifted their operation to Bihar. After returning from South Africa, Gandhiji was moved by the pitiful condition of the indigo cultivators and started the Champaran movement in 1970.